doing something a little different today. We're talking about the cards that are the most time-consuming in Commander.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Lazy, and I'm back also on Nitpicking Nerds. And we make videos every day, and you can support us on Patreon. And if you do, Amber gets to eat food every single day. We would appreciate it.
Seriously, you should be supporting this channel with money, because we need to be supported with money
By people like Kevin Batani, who are amazing.
Yeah, seriously, thank you for supporting this channel directly. We really appreciate everyone who does support this channel. As much as we joke, it honestly helps us make this awesome content. TCGplayer.com. TCGplayer.com, as it's pronounced by everybody else.
Is this the best intro of all time?
Not me. Smooth as butter, like a criminal undercover. Go to that website. Buy the cards you're going to buy anyway. Just make sure you start with our link in the description below. It's our affiliate link. Seriously, all you have to do is click it. You're on the website. Now buy the cards. You get them. Same price, same time, same everything. Everything stays the same except you support us.
Yeah, light it up like dynamite. And happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today.
Yes. So let's hop into this. These are literally just cards that will extend the game. They take so long to resolve from beginning to end.
Like we're just talking temporally, you know? Like the actual time that passes.
Yes, over the game.
So if you were thinking about playing like any of these cards, just consider that they are going to take a lot of time, or maybe if you have them, find a way to resolve them more quickly, because it's a rough task sometimes.
I will say that I do actively not play at least this first one.
Yes.
For sure, because it takes so long to resolve, and it is Limdol's Vault. It's black, blue. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Okay, that's fine. Put them back in any order. Fine. Or you can pay 1 life to put them onto the bottom of your library and repeat the process.
There's no cap on it.
There isn't a cap. So and you have 40 life in Commander, so all you do is you look at top 5. Now what I want, bottom. Top 5, bottom. And it never goes that fast.
It basically becomes Vampiric Tutor, but you can only search 5 cards at a time, and every time you have to decide if the next 5 cards are going to be better than these 5 cards, and it only costs 1 life. So I'm probably, realistically, I pay 7 life to do this. And it's just, that's like 5 minutes of my time.
It takes so actual long. Even if you know exactly what you're looking for, you have to look, see it's not there, and then put those cards in the bottom, and then do it again, and lose 1 life. The card is just, I hate this card, Commander. I honestly think it is just, it's amazing, which is why I hate it so much, because it's so good, so strong, but it's just dumb to resolve.
It doesn't gel with the format. This next one, oh man, gotta be the most triggers in Magic the Gathering. It's Sensei's Divining Top. You can spin it and pay 1 to rearrange the top 3 cards in your library, or tap it to put it on top of your library and draw a card. And that's real tough to deal with a lot of the time. So Sensei's Divining Top's not going to die to removal, which means it's going to be stuck in the game. And anytime you have 1 mana left over, this card's really good. You get to just go, okay, let's see. Oh, I want to draw a land. Great, I'm not going to miss a land drop. And then put them back. Or if somebody plays a board wipe, like, oh, well, that's different. I want a creature. Whoop. And there's just so much of that. Sensei's Divining Top will at least be like, if it's a 10-turn game and you activate it once every other turn, or twice every other turn, it's minutes, solid, tangible minutes of the game are gone.
So first thing, this card doesn't have any triggers, like you said. So that's the first thing. You
pay 1 and that's the ability, right?
It's not a trigger.
It doesn't trigger. It just activates.
Yes. So this card doesn't have any triggers. But second thing, actually talking about the card, is that Sensei's Divining Top is one that is over the course of a game. This one, you don't notice as much because it's 10 seconds here, 10 seconds here, 10 seconds here, 20 seconds here, 10 seconds here, and it's,
what do they call it in the office? Is it it's like a micro theft, right? Or if you take like 2-minute breaks all throughout your day, you're like stealing from the company.
Yeah, and that's what it is. There's so much time taken up, and this one I do play. I think it's because it's spread out, it makes it so much more tolerable comparatively to something like Limdol's Vault, which is just like, it's literally 2 minutes in a row of just resolving this card.
You really feel it. I think Sensei's Top is easier to shortcut also, because what we'll do is we'll say we have 1 mana, I'm going to spin top. Let me just look at these 3 cards over the course of the next turn, and right before my turn, I'll put them in the best way. Or as soon as I know what I want, I'll put them in the best way. Like, that's the fastest way we can figure out to do it.
Yeah, top is fine. It is annoying, though.
No, but what's really bad with top is when you get a card draw engine, like a Skull Clamp or something, and you just like, okay, I'll rearrange top 3. Okay, that's great. It's the next one. I'll draw it. I'll play it. I'll equip Skull Clamp. Okay, I drew top. I'll play it. I'll spin it. Oh, that's the next one. I'll draw it. It's just, oh my God.
Yeah, you do the top over and over again to make sure you're drawing the best stuff. Yeah, it can take a long time to resolve. Next, 2 cards that are really crazy. 1, Warp World. take all your permanents, put them in your deck, get that many cards, put all the permanents onto the battlefield. Wow. Same thing with Great Aurora. They're basically very similar effects. You take all your permanents. Great Aurora also counts your hand, but you shuffle them in, you draw that many cards, and then you put them onto the battlefield if they're permanents.
Right. So Warp World, I think they're similar, but they resolve differently. There's a noticeable difference. Warp World is like you're just at the mercy of the top whatever cards in your library, and you could easily just get annihilated on it, or you hit like 4 creatures and like 2 lands or something. Great Aurora is kind of similar. All your lands are going to go into play, but all the spells go back into your hand. And there's a really great way to shortcut this, because when you play these cards, you are going to be spamming disposable permanents, clues, treasures, zombie tokens off like Field of the Dead, and all that nonsense. So when you have a count of 25 and I have a count of 9, when you cast the Great Aurora, I'm just going to concede.
Yeah, I mean, you can concede to it, but
because like it's actually game over.
It's such a long card to do. Everyone shuffles their decks and draws up to that number. Then they have to put those things back out, and Warp World make sure to say that you get the permanents and then you get the enchantments among those permanents. It's such a weird card.
Yeah, so that auras can go on to things.
Yeah, as long as people are kind of hasty with this, it can be kind of fast. As long as they can count up to 20.
Yeah, if you got people in your pod that count out loud, it's going to be a tough one to resolve.
It is, because when everybody's trying to count to
16,
20.
17, 18, it's like, ah!
But I'm also counting to 16, 17,
Yeah,
18.
please stop.
Yes, we need to move on. What's the next one?
These are definitely in a different category, I think, than Warp World and the Great Aurora, because I think those are less chaotic and there's an actual strategy to them. I think you just probably shouldn't be playing Thieves Auction or Scrambleverse unless you're actually just, chaos. Everybody knows that you're just kind of screwing around and having a good time. But there are pods for that, certainly. But these cards just completely put a 10-minute block on the game. Scrambleverse reassigns every permanent, and you have to keep doing it over and over and over. The best case scenario is you have like a random number generator, and you're like, okay, 1, 4, player 3, player 2, and that still takes forever. And then Thieves Auction, you have to like actually strategize about it. Oh, for every permanent.
Yeah, Thieves Auction literally says everything goes up for auction, essentially.
And you draft them.
And you draft the cards one at a time. It's so long. It's so tedious. It is not fun. I mean, there is a little mini game to it, but I find it extremely monotonous.
And I think I've resolved this card once or twice, and I don't know if this is common because I don't want to play against this card, but I think everybody mostly just takes their stuff back, right?
When it comes to lands,
like commanders and lands, and like I don't know, I think most of the stuff just goes back.
You end up picking there's like 5 cards that really just go up for grabs that are like
the Smothering Tithe or something.
The very best cards in the field. Those are going up for grabs to actually go to people. And then there's your lands. It's like we're all in different colored decks. I want my lands, obviously. So half it doesn't matter. The card is frustrating. It's annoying, and it takes way too long. In Scrambleverse, I don't want to do that. We want me to roll a d4 105 times? No, thank you.
No, thanks. Number 5, Time Stretch. This is take 2 extra turns for 10 mana. And the little extra wrinkle with this card is that it doesn't get exiled or anything. So you can spend a turn, casting a few spells and then end it with Eternal Witness, getting back Time Stretch, and then on your second extra turn, just cast Time Stretch again. And I think this card, more than any other extra turn spell, I was considering Expropriate, but Joe's like, what about Time Stretch? And I'm like, yeah, actually, this one I think takes more time to resolve, especially since Expropriate I'll mostly scoop to. But if you have no board, I can't scoop to Time Stretch.
Yeah, so the problem with Time Stretch is that, period, a turn takes a long time. Let's just say a turn takes 1 to 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, a minute and a half's fair.
A minute and a half for a turn. Like around there for a turn. Fast ones can go faster. Obviously, long ones go longer. But it's around there. Now you have to give them 2 more of these. That means that, so let's just say that minute and a half is that average turn. Now they're taking 4 minutes and 30 seconds compared to the average turn of 1:30. It's just so frustrating, and the card is so good. That's the way. That's one of the main issues. Like some of these other cards, it's like Thieves Auction's not good. It's annoying. It's not that good. Warp World, it's only good very nichely. Just like Limdol's Vault, Time Stretch is just an amazing Magic card. So obviously, I'm not going to tell you not to play this card because it's not good, because it's great, but it takes so long to get through.
Yes, the number 6 I think is close to Warp World and the Great Aurora. This is one I don't have a problem playing against. It's Primal Surge. This requires very few spells like instants and sorceries in your deck, so you're going to flip until you hit an instant or sorcery. Usually Primal Surge decks play 1 to 2 other spells to stop themselves so they don't deck because you're going to have cards that draw when they enter, permanents that draw. Otherwise, how are you drawing cards? So what happens, and it's what's really frustrating to resolve Primal Surge, if it's not lethal and I can't just see that I'm going to die, is you have to resolve every single card. You put them all into play. Then you have to resolve the ETBs and the triggers one at a time as though the other ones like weren't in play. Like if your 13th card is Tireless Tracker and then there's 12 lands in front of it and 12 lands behind it, the 12 lands behind it don't give you clues, and the 12 lands ahead of it do give you clues, and it's just such a headache to keep track of.
Yeah, it's exactly. You have to flip them one at a time and make sure you're keeping track of the order, because when did you flip that Field of Dead? Was it in the middle? Was that the beginning? Because it makes a huge difference.
It didn't see the other 8 lands enter.
Yeah, it didn't see the other 8 lands. Or it saw all 8 lands enter. Like, you have to know where you actually flipped it. There's 2 kinds of Primal Surge decks, right? There is the Primal Surge deck that will automatically win, so that one is easy. That doesn't take forever to resolve. This is what happens. Boom, their deck is turned upside down and it's all on the battlefield. There is no instant sorceries in their whole deck. It's all permanents. And then the other one is, like you said, the 1 and 2, and those are the ones that take forever because you need to flip one at a time. It's such a weird card that it does resolve like that.
Yeah, that you flip them one at a time, but can't trigger anything until they're all in play, and then everything goes.
Yes, but it only knows what was in play when it came in, so it's like so weird. Like, you know, the Tireless Tracker thing. Like, I have a Tireless Tracker. All right, did I flip this after or before? Because it literally makes a difference.
I'd love to spend 5 minutes figuring it out. Number 7, Rise of the Dark Realms. This can get tricky in a similar way to Primal Surge, where you're putting so many things in play at the same time, and they're all going to interact differently. And sometimes you're putting in, like, not combos, but like really good synergies from other people's decks that you don't even know how to do. You don't know how much value you can get out of some kind of loop with creatures that you don't even play. So Rise of Dark Realms, unless you're winning right away, and unless there's, less than 10 creatures in the graveyard, it can get real tricky.
Yeah, this is, as it gets later in the game, it's literally every single ETB from the entire game. Like, and sometimes it's up in the 20s and 30s, and putting those out is like easy. And then you look and it's like, okay, trigger. And there's like 13, 14 triggers, and you have to resolve them. You have to do them in certain orders. Can you, like, you have to remember that, like, say you turn everything, you're not going to be able to get anything back with, like, a, let's say, Phyrexian Delver.
Yes.
That won't be able to get anything back. There's nothing in the graveyard. Even if another trigger sacrifice it, you have to put all of the triggers on the stack at the same time. With targets. There's just all these little tiny, like, interactions that you need to know and be aware of as this is happening. Because it's literally like 13 or 14 triggers. And sure, you can stack them however you want.
Which takes even more time.
That's where this card becomes troublesome. It's so good. Again, another card. I'm never going to tell you not to play this. It's so good. In fact, I've played it many and many decks. But it does take forever. Often it just wins the game, though. It's good when it just wins the game because it feels so much easier to resolve. It's like, all right, there is a not a Balefire Dragon. There is a
the
Terror of the Peaks.
Yeah, Terror of the Peaks.
There is a Terror of the Peaks in the graveyard. The game is actually factually over. We don't have to actually resolve this.
Yeah, but try to resolve it with like a Soul Warden and some creatures that make tokens, and then get back to me.
Elvish Visionary. There was a Massacre Girl in there. Now we wiped the whole board again.
Yeah, that would be fun. Number 8, Soulfire Eruption. I'm going to go ahead and stop numbering these, and you can just keep track of it in your head.
I don't know why you were.
This targets everything on the battlefield because you want as many impulse draws as you can get. So you impulse draw for every target, and then it shoots that target equal to the mana value of whatever you impulse drew for that target. So you kind of have to just point to something and go impulse draw, and then check it, check the number, mark the damage because the damage is relevant if there's other things on the battlefield, other things happening. And then, because you don't know what you're going to impulse draw into, so you got to mark all the damage on all the creatures. Sometimes they don't die, sometimes they don't take damage. Every player needs to do it too, to their face, and this just gets like a lot.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty quick at it. I pick up my deck and I go 2, 3, 2, 0, 0, 2, 3. I'm just like basically just flipping the cards and telling people what it is so they can just know if their creature died or not. That's what's really
important. I think we
important.
tag team it.
Yeah.
I'll pay attention to which creature's being targeted, and Joe's just like shows me the number.
Yeah, it just flip it off the top, and it does take a while. I play this card in my Faldorn deck because obviously this is the most impulse draw you can be playing, right?
Come on,
literally can be like 20, like literally impulse draw 20 cards, and you have to check each individual card to see how much damage you're dealing. I love the card. I think it's really cool. I think it's a fun design. But oh my god, literally sitting there flipping cards one at a time takes so long.
The next card, which has no number, can be fast to resolve, but if you resolve it like according to the rules of Magic, the official way to resolve it.
According to what the card reads.
Right. According to what the card reads, you will never finish resolving it. It will never happen. Time will end. The big crunch will reset the universe before you finish resolving Mind's Desire for 10. Because you have to shuffle your library every time, in between every new copy of it. And then we're also casting 10 spells. Those interact with each other. If you're spell slinging, you're making treasures and mana, and which lets you cast more spells. And this is rough.
This is such a silly card. It's really, really good. Obviously, it's a good storm payoff. You play it in those kind of decks. It just, like you said, there is a shuffle in between every single one, and it only really becomes relevant when you flip something like a brainstorm, right? Like, that's when it's actually relevant, because if you brainstorm, you have to shuffle after that. You can't actually keep resolving it. Usually you can flip one, resolve it, and then your deck is still random. The other cards are still random as long as you didn't scry, put any cards in the bottom, or do anything along those lines. You're fine to just keep flipping off. But if, like BZ said, you resolve this as it reads on the card, shuffle, 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 shuffle. I think you have to do about 6 or 7 riffle shuffles to get it completely random.
Someone's got to cut.
Someone's got to cut. 6 or 7 riffle shuffles again. Cut. Do it. And how many are on this deck? Oh, there's 18 more. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Flip.
You know what? I'm just going to go get lunch.
It's going to take so long to do it the correct way. But just do it. If the deck is completely random,
Just flip them.
Just keep flipping them. As long as the deck remains random, obviously cards affect that. And when they do, that can change things. Up next, we have a commander. And this is the longest commander turns that ever are taken by any human. It's Tulane, Teller of Tales. This card is just obscenely good and obscenely long to play, because every time you play a creature, you draw a card, and then you can put a land in play. So every time you play a creature, you growth spiral, and those lands don't enter tapped. So you play a 1-mana creature, draw a card, put a land into play a 1-mana creature, keep going until you run out of cards in hand. You don't, because not only is Tulane on the battlefield, you're playing things like Beast Whisperer. You're playing all the other versions. Now you're drawing 2 cards, putting a land into play, meaning you get this creature here. The lands entering untapped is so silly how good this card. This card is actually good with bounce lands, like in a strong version of the deck, which is such a weird thing. That's how good Tulane is.
Yes, Tulane does not mess around. He's a complete value circus. Very similar to Top, except it'll be more focused bursts on their turn. You got to kill Tulane. I mean, A, it's infinite value, but B, it's a lot of your time at risk.
Do you want to sit there? It's literally just trigger after trigger after trigger. Play it. Draw land. Play it, draw, land. Eventually they run out of lands. Okay, fine. All right, little creature, all their creatures cost nothing. Little creature, draw, 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 draw. Oh, they're not hitting lands. That means there's more creatures in their hand.
I hate you, Tulane. Who's next?
It's World Purge. 8 mana. Everybody bounces all permanents on the battlefield back to their hand. Okay, cool. Choose 7 of them.
Hold on, let me take 5 minutes to choose what my 7 best cards are. First, before we can move on, let me take all this time to figure out my 7 best cards, and then the rest, I'll just put them in my library. I don't need them.
On top of that, so you do that whole thing. Okay, you put them all back in your hand. You have 7. That's resolving the card. I'm counting all the turns leading up to actually playing Magic again. The land pass, land pass, land pass. All of those turns to actually build up to actually let us play the game of Magic we were in the middle of. I'm counting that as time that this takes to resolve.
Definitely. And also, there's not even a way to get ahead of it like there is with Great Aurora and sometimes Warp World, where you can make a bunch of extra mana with all your extra permanents and stuff, and then take a huge turn when you resolve it, and you're going to be ahead and actually win the game. This is like, no, you lose all your unspent mana too. Kind of a weird card. It feels like it's interchangeable with some of the banned cards. Like it's that ridiculous. So basically rule 0 out of the format, impossible to resolve.
I'm glad it's rule 0 out of the format, because if you were seeing this card regularly, it'd be miserable.
Yeah. At least Worldfire like ends the game. Like something's going to happen. As soon as someone takes any positive action, the game's over.
Yes. All right. Next, we have 2 cards, and everyone knows these ones. Smothering Tithe, Rhystic Study.
Here's the triggers I was talking about.
Yes, these are triggers. They're triggers that stack every time an opponent draws a card and every time an opponent casts a spell. That's a lot. I don't know if you know this. Drawing and casting spells, 2 of the biggest parts of Commander games.
Yes, but one of the things I think is actually the most time-consuming is a lot of times players will just breeze by these triggers, and we have to go back because there is a Rhystic Study trigger. You cast 2 spells back-to-back. You can't do that. I need to tell you, pay the 1, and then I need to tell you, pay the 1. And even just saying, pay the 1, no. That's like a 1 or 2 second interaction that is going to happen like 70 times.
Yeah, it just happens so much. I think it's really important to just know whether you're paying or not and tell players at a time. Go like, Rhystic Study, I'm not paying this turn. I'm going to cast these 3 spells. I'm not paying.
Smothering Tithe is a little harder, though, because you get to draw, and now you have new information and all your mana untapped, and then you have to decide, and it's just like, that happens even more.
It's true, yes, because Smothering Tithe, it could be like, oh, I don't have anything to play this turn, I'm going to pay, and then you draw, and it's like, oh, I have something to play this turn, I'm not going to pay.
Let me think about
It
it.
literally changes what happens. But these are the million triggers. Like, literally just, they happen so often, they're going to take up a large chunk of the game. These cards are so, again,
They're great, though.
why are so many of the cards that take forever so good?
It's just Richard Garfield spiting us
That's
from beyond the set design because he
Good.
doesn't make magic anymore.
Yeah, I think it's from
No,
Beyond.
he's not dead.
Yeah, but you
Very much alive.
Because you said from Beyond.
Yeah, from beyond the set design. This next card will paralyze every player into never making a decision, and it's only 1 mana, and it doesn't do anything. It's telepathy. Everybody plays with their hand revealed. So why would I cast my creature if I know that you have the perfect answer? You have a counterspell. There's a board wipe coming. But let me check everybody's hand for that first every single time. What did you draw? What was that? Let me see what you just drew. Oh, let me read that. I can't play with this card.
Also, am I supposed to always play with my hand on the table? What is? I hate this card.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
Not only do I absolutely hate that this card like is just a silly and like makes you play with your hand down, the fact that it's just like, how am I going to make choices? I have way too much information that just shouldn't be available to me. I have to literally look at your hand, which is not in a spot that is going to be openly available. It's not like we're putting it in the middle of the table. Our hands are still going to be in front of us because we need access to it to play our cards. It's just it's extremely inconvenient what this card is. It doesn't play in a way that is like friendly to the game of Commander.
Right. It seems like it'd be fun and cool, and then you have too much information. It's just like the end of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where that lady gets all the alien knowledge and then her head explodes. You know, she just like gets too much information and then can't play anything because she's dead.
It's exactly like that.
It's just like that.
Next, Time Spiral. All right, this actually was, we were talking about it. This is pretty much all of the like wheel type effects, but specifically the Time Twister ones. Because you have to take your hand, take your graveyard, shuffle in, draw a fresh 7. That's not too bad. What ends up taking forever is with Time Spiral is it doesn't cost mana. So what you actually do is you pay 6 mana, do exactly what I just said. That takes, it takes like a minute to resolve or so. And then you have a whole nother turn where not only is it a whole new turn, it's a whole new turn with 7 new cards that you weren't ready to have in your hand. So now you have to make all your decisions again. And I'm counting that as all the Time Spiral time.
Yeah, Time Spiral is definitely the worst wheel. I think the other wheels, I would say they're barely offenders, but Time Spiral stands like head and shoulders above the rest of them.
I think wheels, when you have a lot of extra mana afterward, are as bad as this.
That's true.
But Time Spiral is always that. You always have a lot of mana extra casting the Time Spiral.
That's true. All right, we're not numbering these. The next one, which has no number, Torment of Hailfire. Torment of Hailfire. It's X black, and each player gets a choice. So, buckle in. They either lose 3, discard a card, or sacrifice a non-land permanent. But you make them make that choice between 3 things, all of which are very realistic to choose, X times. So if you Torment to Hailfire for 12, if everyone's not obviously dead on board, they have to actually go through this and say, all right, I can discard 3 cards. This one you can shortcut a little, but once you get to the end, you cannot. Once you're like scrounging to save 3 life, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I like when it's first super lethal, like 500. It's like, okay, good, we're dead. There's actually no choices here. Otherwise, you have to like. My thing is usually counting down in increments of 3. I'm like, okay, 33.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, I go like 33. Okay, 30, 27, and then like I'll put cards aside. And
you go by life.
I go by life, so I know how much I'm losing, and then I can look at my life total, and that's how I do it. Still not fast. Still takes me a solid like minute to like figure out what I need to sack to live, and it's not like it's just what do I sack to live. It's what are the worst permanents that cards man to discard in this situation to let me win from this low life total that I'm now at. It's a lot of little micro choices all in one card.
Yeah, and it's not like you only cast Torment either for lethal or nothing. It's like a very impactful card. It's good when X equals 7. That's a good play. You can kind of wipe their board a little bit and deal a bunch of damage. And then we just have to figure out what everybody wants to do. And you're going to wait for 3 people to make a lot of decisions.
Yes. Next, Council's Judgment. This card was made so bad. And it's unfortunate because it's a cool card. So what happens is you play Council's Judgment. Everybody gets to vote, starting with you. That's the bad part. Starting with you, everyone votes on a permanent you don't control, and then that permanent gets exiled. What is really, 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 really bad about this card is that it becomes political.
It counts ties.
If people know how to play it. And all the power lies in the last 2 players, which means they get to sit here and collude afterward. You pick their permanent, they pick another permanent. And it's like, you can, if you're sitting in this seat right here,
number 2,
you have to always vote for the same permanent. Because if you don't, you know what the other 2 players are going to do? they'll just pick 2 of your permanents to go on the tie.
Right, and it'll be a 4-way tie and 4 things go away. So it's just like all of this nonsense. Like I think this is a really poorly designed card because it was designed for multiplayer and it does not function in a like reasonable way at all. The first person just chooses the thing they want actually gone. The second person basically has to choose that same thing. They're kind of stuck. Or they can screw around and they can politic with the other 2 people. So let's figure out what they want to do. Okay, they picked one. They picked the same permanent. Now the other 2 players are like, let's team up. Let's exile another permanent because we can both vote for the same thing. And then the original permanent goes away, which we don't like. And then this other permanent controlled by player 2 goes away. And player 2 is just like, well, that sucks to be me.
Yeah, this seat sucks for the voting. And also on top of that, say that it's your removal spell. You're not even guaranteed to get what you want out of this dumb removal spell.
Yep.
You vote for this, they say this, and then everyone votes for this. It's like, oh, I didn't even get rid of the thing that was threatening me.
Yeah, if you're being held down by like some kind of mild stacks piece that nobody else cares about, they're not going to let you kill it.
Yeah, so we're ranting and raving about how bad this card is, but it also takes forever.
Right. Well, I think we've communicated all of the communication that goes into this. Players are just talking about it because why wouldn't you? And it's just like, oh my God, it's not even good. So I would just recommend cutting this one to save your time. Save time in your life.
Yeah. Next, survival of the fittest. What if every single creature draw was your best creature draw of the game?
Ooh, what if I didn't know what my best creature is?
Then you have to search every single time. What this says is you pay a green, discard, go get a creature from your deck as long as you discard. So you discard a creature, go get a creature. Every creature you draw is the best creature for the situation. So you have to either know all of it off the top of your head, which who knows their whole deck so perfectly that they can play it like that. It's very, very few people. Some people do. So every turn, what you're doing is discarding, searching, discarding, searching. When it's a combo piece, it works quickly when you just, hey, discard any creature, get Protein Oak. Discard Protein Oak, get some way to reanimate. Play the reanimation, win. It's like, that's fine. That goes quick. That's easy. But that's not how this card is always played. Luckily, it's almost $200, so we don't see it at tables a lot.
Rarely sees play, but it's one of the best cards in the format. Also, even if you know every card you want, you still have to physically find it. So there's going to be some times where it's the last card you look at or it's in the middle. And then it's just an extra 20 seconds that went by.
Yeah. And for this next one, I wanted to put Farewell. I think Farewell is a game extender, and it does take a lot of time because it essentially wipes the whole board away, gets rid of graveyards, gets rid of everything. But there's a worse offender. A worse offender than Farewell. Farewell is the next one on this list that I would put here for board wipes. But Decree of Annihilation wipes out everything. Nobody has anything after this except Planeswalkers. And if someone didn't have a Planeswalker, what are we doing? This is just going to be absurd.
Yeah, it resets the game. No hands, no lands. And you can even cycle to destroy lands, but similar to World Purge, and that's what we're talking about with Farewell, is not so much the time it takes to resolve, because these are fairly easy to resolve, the time that is lost after that takes time to recover from that big wiping of the board state. So Decree of Annihilation, also rule 0, but Farewell, we're looking at you. You kind of take a while.
Farewell does take forever, and I love Farewell. It's
so good. I'm playing it all the time. That's one I'm playing.
It might be the best. It might be the best like board wipe that's not rule 0'd out. It's so good. Like, it keeps us moving up my ranks because of how good exiling and hitting graveyards is.
So it's like Vanquish the Horde, maybe like a tenuous number 1, and then this. Farewell, and then it's like, those could change.
And what's absurd about it is Farewell 6 mana. That's not cheap. That's absurdly high for a board wipe, and we're still talking about it being one of the best.
Yeah, one of the best. Number next one. They're all number next one. Bolas's Citadel. This card's amazing, and I'm not saying you should cut it, but what gets really tricky is when you have a way to not brick. So I'm perfectly fine with, all right, spell, pay 2 life, pay 5 life, pay 3 life.
Even that takes some time.
Right. Pay 4 life, kill your thing, and then there's a land on top. Play it. Okay, there's another land on top. I'm done. I'll pass. Bolas's Citadel is a huge threat. Let's kill it, or untap and, reap the consequences. I don't know. Untap and die. But what gets really tricky is if they have a way to draw cards, like a non-infinite way to draw cards. Like, oh, I have a Skull Clamp. All right, well, there's a land on top. Equip, draw. All right. Oh, cast this. Oh, there's a land on top. Skull Clamp. Or even just Divination. All right, draw. Oh, what's this? I'll cast it. And then their life starts to get low. And then there's the choice of, do I play this or do I not play it? And it's like stacking 87 decisions on top of each other.
Yeah, so it actually is ridiculous. And what makes this the combination of cards that takes the actual factual longest with Bolas's Citadel is Sensei's Divining Top, because you create this pseudo loop where what you do is you put top on top of your deck. It's there on top. You draw a card. Now you pay 1 life, because that's its mana cost, to put it back on the battlefield, meaning you have a way to just put 1 life to put any one of those cards in your hand. So if you can't play it or you don't want to play it, you can always do that. That takes forever.
Yep, because now we're deciding, do I want to cast it or draw it with Sensei's Divining Top? What am I even looking for with Sensei's Divining Top? Usually I just go, do you have Aether Flux Reservoir in there or something? All right, I quit.
Yeah,
like you're probably dead to Bolas' Citadel top.
Yeah, it's such a strong little combo. And top, like you said, resetting the top of your deck, which top does over and over again, is ridiculous. Shuffle effects, your fetch lands, all those. It's Bolas' Citadel, again, a card you're going to play because it's so good. Just takes a lot of time. All right, next one. We have Possibility Storm. I think this card is 2 things: annoying and unfun. So I really...
You could add a third thing. I think it's just kind of bad.
Combined with that, there are ways to make Possibility Storm kind of good. It does have synergies. My problem with this card is, first, it takes forever. Every single spell, no matter what we cast, we go, okay, don't want that. All right, flip.
Shuffle, bottom, there.
And then there's the situations where you cast an enchantment. You're playing a 3 enchantment deck. We have to flip until we hit that to resolve this card correctly. I know we can let you search your deck, but it's like we're trying to play right at least a little bit, and it's so annoying. And what if that wasn't their only enchantment? What if they forgot about one? Now we have to actually resolve it the right way after wasting the time doing the search.
Bonus points for the fact that this card is very hard to kill. Any kill spell in your hand is not a kill spell for it. It's whatever you happen to hit. So you have to get lucky in order to kill Possibility Storm. I tried it out in a deck because I hadn't played with it in like probably 10 years. And it wasn't even that good because it didn't have any combos with it. It was just straight up like, I'm trying to cast extra spells. Maybe this will work. And it took forever. I do not want to play this card again.
It takes forever. And I think this card is just painfully and miserably unfun.
Pretty much checks every box that it's like, it's bad, it's unfun, it takes
exactly
forever.
Like when players talk about liking group hug / chaos, this is the card I look to. It's like, this is the card I hate. This is the thing that I think is both unfun and just takes forever. We don't get to play, basically.
Thieves Auction is right up there, too.
I'm not playing my deck when I play this card. What I'm doing is I'm casting the most mana efficient cards in my hand over and over and over again to see what I luckily roll into. And if you like that, good for you. I personally hate it. If you want to check out some awesome gameplay we did, check it out right here because we played with Ron and Beth, 2 of our awesome friends.
Maybe someone resolves Possibility Storm. Who knows?
Doubt it. Peace out, Tribe Scouts.